Hi. Yesterday while I was making this other screencast, I stumbled on this new feature in Google Docs. And of course, it made me start my other screencast over because the tool stopped behaving how I thought they were going to behave. And I think it just goes to prove that no matter how much experience you have with the Google Apps for Education, you're going to accidentally stumble upon new features from time to time, which is, of course, both the best and sometimes the most frustrating thing about Google Apps for Education. In any case, I noticed that in the upper left we have this blue symbol for whatever kind of file we're in. Well, a symbol in the upper left. It's blue if we're in Docs. You can see it's green if we're in Sheets, yellow in Slides, etc. And what it did before the summer started is it would click us back into our Google Drive, but it does something different now, and this really shows how Google is trying to make the mobile experience and the desktop experience closer to each other so that users have an easier time. And what it does now is it takes you to the Docs home if you're in Docs, Sheets home if you're in Sheets, etc. So let's take a look at that and see what that does. So if I hover over, you see it says Docs home. So if I click on that, notice it doesn't open a new tab. It stays in the same tab, and all of a sudden we're in the Docs home. And if you are a mobile Google Docs app user, not the Drive app, the Google Docs app, this will look pretty familiar to you. You see this is sorted by recent. We have these good big previews, these thumbnail previews. If we want to start a new doc from here, we can. We go to the lower right side, the plus button, it says create new document. The first time you come here, you might see like a little guided tour thing. Go ahead and click through the tour, do the tour, and see where everything is. We can switch to the list view if you prefer the list view. And we can sort by title if that's what we want. And if you're just going to be working between a bunch of different docs, this is a pretty nifty tool. One other thing that I do like about it is that it's a single click to open up the new document that you're about to work on. This is the one I was in, and it doesn't open a new tab. It opens in the same tab. If you wanted it in a new tab, you would control click, or on a Mac command click it. And just as an example, we have this in Sheets. We have a Sheets home, just like we have a Sheets app. And you see here, it put me into list view for whatever reason. We'll switch it to grid view, and again we have these nifty, awesome thumbnails. And again, we're single clicking into it, and it doesn't open a new tab. And you'll see that we have the same thing in Slides. This is one of my training presentations. If I click here, I get into Slides home, and etc., etc. It works the same way. There are a few exceptions, however, and you should be aware of those. And I think the exceptions pretty much fall along the does it have its own mobile app? Like, this summer they came out with the mobile Google Slides app. And so we have a separate one. And if you are a frequent Chrome user, if you go into the Chrome Web Store, you can find these separate apps for your desktop applications as well, especially if you're a Chromebook user. You're going to want to go and look for those. So if we go to Drawings and we have our nifty red indicator, you see the Google Drive triangle comes up, and this will open a new tab into Google Drive. And if I do that, I get a new tab. There's another, if you have a gray icon in the upper left, that means this is something that's stored in Google Drive, but it's not entirely sure what to open it with. This is a PNG, so I got this gray one. There's one last exception, and it took me a second to figure out what was going on here. So this is a spreadsheet, so it should open Sheets home, but it wants to go back to Google Drive, and I finally figured out by trial and error what it is. This is an old Google Sheet, and you can tell it's an old Google Sheet because we don't have the add-ons menu here. The old Google Sheets didn't have add-ons, they only had scripts. So this won't take me to the Sheets home, this will take me back to Google Drive. That being said, I'm sure the old Sheets are in Sheets home, they just won't click in. the way the new ones will. So hopefully that you find this new functionality awesome and really useful, and you see this screencast before you get confused and frustrated by it. Remember not to throw the laptop, it never helps.